You done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking at you, give me funny, lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
Thank you, Keith, and welcome everyone to The Collection. My name is The Boat, Brad Gilmore. So excited that you joined us for another episode of the show. If this is your first time checking us out, welcome. Welcome to The Collection. This is literally, like they say in the intro, a collection of my favorite conversations with entertainers throughout the landscape, whether that's comedy, music, movies, television, film, sports, wherever. We have them here on The Collection, and today is no different. Really excited to get to our guest today, but I want to remind everyone, if you're checking this out and you haven't left us a rating or a review in your favorite podcast app, go ahead and do so. It really helps us over here at The Collection. This week, just as all weeks, we are entertaining you with 3 brand new interviews, and this one is one that I'm sure you're all going to love. Let's find out who we're talking to this week on The Collection. Welcome back, everyone, to ESPN Radio, ESPN 97.5, 92.5. We are here talking about the new movie NANNY, which is going to be on Amazon Prime on December the 16th. One of the stars of the film joins us right now. The man who plays the character Malik, Sinqua Walls, is on the show right now. Sinqua, how we doing, man?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing great. Look, first off, I watched the movie today. Whoa. It's a lot. You know what I mean? It's a dense, scary, psychological, but empathetic, and I mean, there's so many layers to this movie. I've actually, I don't know if I've ever seen anything exactly like this ever, to be honest with you.
I think that's such a great point, because the way that Nikiatu describes it is she wanted all of those elements to exist, right? And I always tell people in other interviews, I'm like, it's a psychological horror experience. And I kind of just discovered that today when I had to actually say it. It's like, that's exactly what it is. You can't really put it in one particular genre, because everything is used as a tool to tell an overall story. And so I was like, oh, it's a psychological horror experience, because there is horror, but it's an experience in life that is so relatable at times that you can take it and put it in a totally different genre and it'll play. And I can say, from having sat with the filmmaker long enough, that I know that that was her intention from the beginning.
Well, then she completely nailed it. I mean, the film is, again, something I've never seen. The horror elements in it were very unnerving, right? The elements that are in there. There's a particular scene, I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but I'll just say there's a scene where she's in bed and there's water, if you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I was there.
You were in the movie, right?
I was in the movie. I was there.
And it was one of those things that was so off-putting, but the horror elements aren't just gratuitous horror. They're there to push the story further and explain a lore of certain characters that are important to the background of the protagonist. Yes,
totally. And I think that's something that, again, was her intention. I think overall, Nikiatu wants to tell a story that somewhat is a slice of life. It's an amalgamation of experiences from many women that Nikiatu and also Anna have experienced in their journey as women and as women from traditional African backgrounds. And she wanted horror to be a tool to tell an overall story. And that's why it is, to me, even more than scary, it's haunting, because there's just an element of life that is so authentic and true that it makes you think more about just the experiences that you've been a part of, things you may have noticed, overlooked, or things that you see other people going through, and you're more inquisitive. And I know that was like her intention from the inception.
Yeah, you said the word haunting. That's a perfect way to describe exactly what it is. It's not scary. It's not a jump scare. You're not going to see any Michael Myers-esque elements here. This is more of a psychological thriller that's unnerving and haunting. When you read the script, I heard you characterize it as when you read it, it was something that even if you didn't get the role, you would still want to see the movie anyway, which I think is a really interesting point. But with Malik, the character itself, did you have any immediate identifiers with the character? Did you understand the journey of this character?
Well, a great question. And also thank you for that research, because that is something that I always use as a catalyst to gauge every script that I read as I've kind of matured as an actor is, good material when you still want to watch it regardless. I mean, no actor books every role. So it's not possible to be in every movie, but do you still want to show up and be a fan or ingest it as an audience member? And if the answer is yes, then I'm always like, okay, I know this is good because I still want to watch it. And for me, I think there's just so many elements that I pulled from my life of just growing up as a man, growing up as a Black man in society, and saying, okay, now as I continue to mature and traverse waters and learning who's who in this journey of life, how is that going to be translated into my portrayal of Malik? How can I use that and substitute some of my backstory and my experiences and my observations to what this is, to understand not only him, but to find the connective tissue to relate to Aisha. And that was the goal. It was like, how do we find this thing of relatability, right? And that comes from listening and understanding and knowing that although we all walk out the door from different experiences, our human experience is very similar, right? We all go through love, loss, trauma, happy, sad, right? Joy, and those are just connected. And so for me, it was like, okay, what are those connections that I know will be relatable in each step?
Yeah, I mean that's a really awesome answer. I'm glad that you kind of gave me that mentality of what you're looking for and how you kind of walk through a character. The movie again is Nanny. It's on Amazon Prime. December the 16th. We're talking to Sinqua Walls. He plays Malik in the movie. When shooting this film, you stayed in Brooklyn. Am I right?
I did.
Okay, talk to me about this, because you're someone born in Louisiana, then you go off to California. I think that sometimes we overlook a setting in a movie, and especially when you're staying in the actual place, right? When you're staying there in Brooklyn, you're staying in New York, that city becomes a character, right? Whether it's in the subtext of the film or it informs us about what these characters are going through, because we're such products of our environment. What did staying in Brooklyn and being in New York, did that help you at all in the kind of crafting of Malik?
Well, it's funny because, when I first had the opportunity to start filming in New York consistently, I was a Manhattan guy. And I was always like, I want to stay in the city, man. I want to go where all the people are. I want to feel the energy of the folks, and then over time, I just had an opportunity where just happenstance, they ended up putting me in Brooklyn. This was a project before Nanny. And I was like, man, this is great. I get why everybody loves it over here. And so then when we come back and, we're doing Nanny, and like, hey, we have to find housing for you. We're going to put you up in Manhattan. I was like, oh, no. I'm a Brooklyn guy.
I've decided on my borough, and I'm sticking to Brooklyn.
Whoa. I don't need the city for me. I'm over here, And what it really provided to me was just like an ability to have peace. I think at the end of the day, I believe for all of us, where we lay down our heads is where we consider to be our recharging station, and what gives us the most juice in the morning to get up and be the best version of ourselves, or have the intent that we want each and every day. And so for me, it was like, well, where can I go where I'll have that? Where can be my recharging station? And that in particular pocket of Brooklyn provided that. And I think that's also something that, at the end of the day, Malik looks for that too. He's looking for home, right? If we're trying to tie that together, he's looking for home, he's looking for peace. And I think that's something that he found in Aisha through as we unpack the story. And I think it was because of a knowing that they both had. She's going through this haunting and is discovering it, but knows it's real. He's been living with it, and it's been impressed upon him consistently because of his grandmother, but he's choosing to ignore it because he wants to find his own home and his own journey, his own peace. And so that's something that I think, much like Malik Sinqua as well, I try to always find the intent of finding peace and finding that home in each space, in each city I inhabit.
Wow, and Brooklyn was that for you. Now, let me ask you this, because I'm a bit of a rap nerd. And so when I went to Brooklyn for the first time, I said, I got to find the Marcy Projects. Like, I got to see the steps that JC was sitting on, when he was thinking of Hard Knock Life. Did you go and sightsee it all? Did you I got to figure out where the Marcy Projects are? Or was this just...
Well, I've driven by the Marcy Projects a couple of times, and it didn't have the same effect that it had on you, that it had on me. It wasn't, I liked it,
It was cool, but
No, it wasn't Disneyland, and I understood. But no, I think for me, it's just a collection of people. I think there's so much pride. I think that's the biggest thing about, each sector of New York City, whether you're talking about Harlem, Uptown, Washington Heights, Midtown, Soho, Queens, Brooklyn, even if you're talking about Jersey, you're talking about Long Island, there's so much pride, there's so much loyalty there. So wherever you're entrenched, you're going to get that level of support from the people if you rock with it, right? And you listen. New York is one of those places where I always say, like, you can go to a lot of cities and tell the city who you are, and then you'll be that. But when you go to New York, you have to let New York tell you who you are, and it'll let you in.
Oh, man, I love that. We're talking to Sinqua Walls, NANNY on Amazon Prime, December the 16th. I just went through this thing a few weeks ago where I got married this year, and my wife and I were going through the whole thing. I appreciate that. We were going through the whole changing of the names thing, right, which is a headache in itself. And it made me actually sit and wonder what our name's translated to. So I found my last name's Gilmore. I figured out it meant servant to the Virgin Mary, which I was like, that was hard. It was hard when I found that out. My wife is Lebanese, and her name in Arabic means joy. Her name's Farah. It means joy. Sinqua, I know, has a very specific meaning to it, does it not?
Yes, there is a special meaning. It's not servant to the Virgin Mary. It's something different, but has its own element of special that my family found, and I'm grateful for it. Sinqua is the French pronunciation of the name Singebi. And Singebi was the king that led the slaves to the Supreme Court to fight for their freedom and ultimately win. The story of the Amistad, that is the backstory of my name. That gentleman who fought for their freedom and spoke on behalf of the revolt as the king of that tribe is the one who my name is patterned after. And I recently found out from doing a Google search, and someone told me this, that the meaning of my name also encompasses one who is focused and highly desirable.
Oh, wow. And I think that you think that describes you pretty accurately.
I don't know. I'll let other people tell me.
I've seen power. People think you're desirable. Trust me. I've seen that.
I'll take it. Now, can I get something for free? But no, that is the genesis of my name, Sinqua.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I just love the name. And it's a French translation of the name, right? So, and your folks are from Louisiana.
My folks being from Louisiana, my mom specifically, she was emphatic about the names that, she wanted to choose. And I think they ultimately had a list, and my mom won out. And if you know my mom, most of the time she wins out.
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate for most people who are married. The wife normally wins. I've learned that in my short time. Now you didn't spend a significant time in Louisiana, did you? Because you went to California pretty quickly.
That's correct. So I actually was raised predominantly in Los Angeles, the Crenshaw district, and my family being from Shreveport, Louisiana, I spent a lot of summers there. And so there was always this hybrid of people going like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I grew up in LA." And they'd be like, "You don't sound like you're from LA." But then my family in Louisiana was like, "You sound too like, what is it, like California, or just like
too West Coast?
You're not really from it. You're too West Coast." And so that was always like the running joke of like my I guess dialect as it evolved is spending time in both places.
When you're coming up as an actor, like when I started out my career, I always like look for people who are super successful in that realm. And then I identify the people whom I connect with and are my, I guess, heroes of industry, if you will. And then I pattern myself after them. And sometimes it's completely biting their style until I found my own, right? I think a lot of us go through that. Who are those people for you when you're coming up as an actor? Who are the ones that you gravitated to the most? Who's like, hey, if he's doing it or if she's doing it, I need to copy that.
It's so funny because I had so many, so I'm gonna try to narrow it down to three that really I think I pivotally kind of come back to me. And it's because, I would always look at what someone else did as an actor who was more senior than me. And I was like, if I can't do that, I'm not good. And so I watched like something that, that Michael Douglas would do. And I'd be like, well, if I can't do it like Michael Douglas, I'm not good, right? Or I'd watch something that Denzel would do. And if I can't do it like Denzel, or I'd watch, Meryl Streep was one of my favorites actually growing up. And I was like, if I can't do it like her, I'm not good. So I would always kind of gauge it off of like what I didn't understand was range until I got older and started to study it and understood like, oh, everyone has their their innate sensibilities of what they do. And then you evolve it from there. But I used to always compare myself as a younger man to like, if I can't do it like the actor that I saw it, then there's no future for me. You know, like Matthew McConaughey was someone I loved. I loved, you know, oh man, there were so many. There's Jack Nicholson.
Oh,
I love,
the best.
You know, Samuel Jackson, Don Cheadle, Sandra Bullock. Like but I would watch all these different films, Julia Roberts as well, and I'd be like, I can't do it like them. I'm not Richard Gere. I gotta go do better. Like, you know. So it's so many different ones, man.
I feel that, you know, and it's definitely sometimes, you know, you see somebody do something so well that excels so much at their craft. You're right. It almost makes you be like, well, I'm never going to reach that level.
Correct.
But I think it's the knowing that we're always aspiring to that level that keeps us motivated, right?
I think the goal is greater than the destination. And it's knowing that that's actually the win, is staying on the goal. And I said this to a couple of friends of mine. We talk and we always are able to have these deep, heartfelt thoughts. And like, as things have continued to progress in my life and my career, I was like, you know what I realized, y'all? And I was like, I had this epiphany moment. I'm thinking I'm sounding so great, but I'm like, they're probably like, whatever, dude. I was like, success is easy when you have a goal with no timeline.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was like, that's all it is. Like in my head, I was like, that's it. Have a goal, have no timeline. You'll get there eventually. Just keep going and keep sharpening the tool and make sure that you're better tomorrow than you were the day before. And I think also in my work as an actor, that's where I've seen the progression, right? When we talk about, first I would be so hypercritical and I would study and I would watch other actors and man, I'm not as, I can't do what he does. I can't do what she does. And then I started to find my thing. And then I found a version of my thing and their thing. And then I was like, okay, I read this book by Michael Caine that said all great actors steal, but if you're going to steal from the best. So I started making sure that was a part of my toolbox, is making sure if I'm working with, you know, I did a movie with Brian Cox recently, I'm watching him to steal from him, right? I'm working with Taron Egerton right now and I'm stealing like 5 things from Taron and he doesn't even know it, you know? Jason Bateman as well. Like I'm always kind of going, okay, where can I add to my toolbox? Because the goal is progression. It's not a destination.
Yeah, man, that's so great. You know, when back here in Houston, I do a radio show with a guy named Booker T, who is a professional wrestler.
I remember Booker T.
Yeah, okay, so you know Booker. So he always said that he learned the most when he'd be in the ring with somebody like a Ric Flair or a Ricky Steamboat, somebody who was much more seasoned than him, and he would learn so much about himself through working with them. They didn't have to tell him anything. They didn't have to give him any game, but he picked up on it just by being in the presence of it. Is there an actor or a director or anybody that you've picked up a lot from just being around?
Yes. One of the greatest, on the Rushmore, the Queen Mother, Angela Bassett.
Oh man. The ageless wonder.
The ageless wonder. And what I learned is the ability in every aspect to be so present and be so committed, but also to have balance, right? Like the thing about it is, as we go on these journeys of success, no matter what we're doing and no matter what industry we're in, we sometimes make this agreement that we have to be so fully committed that nothing else matters. And that becomes a deterioration to ourselves on a mental perspective, a spiritual perspective as well. And to watch this woman who every day was so present for me, with me, and just observe her process, but then the ability to just sit back and let it happen and turn it off and go home and be able to be present for her husband and be present for her kids and do that as well. I was like, oh, that's life, that's living, that's performing, that's the next level. And so I was able to see that. She never told this to me. I was able just to watch her make those seamless transitions from years of wisdom and experience, and then always come in and full conversation, mid-laughter. They're like, Angela, we need you to cry. And she'd be like, and tears. And you're just like, I need to get better.
Right. She is incredible, man. I mean, when you talk about an actress who has range and who has had a incredible run, if you go down that IMDb, you know almost everything that she's been in, and she was great in everything that she's been in.
Great in everything. I think to me, that's why I said like one of the greatest on the Rushmore of greatness and just poised as a person as well. Like that's the that's the template for me, is Angela Bassett. She's the template.
We're talking to Sinqua Walls about the new movie NANNY, which is going to be on Amazon Prime on December the 16th. He plays the character Malik, of course. This movie is unlike anything that I've ever seen. I wanted to ask you, you worked with Clint Eastwood, right?
I did.
Okay, is the one take thing accurate? Does it really, you have the one take?
It is, in a way that's very funny, because Clint is such a savvy filmmaker that he'll shoot you talking. So what Clint did, at least from the experience that I had with him, the one take is very, very real. It's not unreal at all. But say before we did our interview, we have a pre-conversation. Mm-hmm. And we'll have the pre-conversation and we'll talk and we'll do the thing. We'll just be like, hey man, how's everything? How are you doing? I was like, oh man, I'm good to be here. About Clint shooting that. And then he'll say, can you actually say the lines real quick? And we'll say, oh yeah, cool. We'll just say the lines. He's like, good. Say them again. And we'll say, oh, da. Good, we got it. And you go, oh, we got what? We got it. That was good. Oh, do you need me to do anything else? No, it was natural. It was real, and you were in the moment. I don't want to make it contrived.
Incredible.
And so what he does is get you comfortable already in the element by just being naturally there. And then he shoots that. So the one take is so real because he literally just shoots the whole moment.
And he captures it. And he puts it in the movie. And that particular movie you were in was a very interesting one, having the real life, characters playing themselves. I have just a couple more minutes with you. Again, we're talking about NANNY, which you found out you got the part kind of by accident. Is this true? Like on Zoom? Like you heard some of the feedback and you were like, oh my God, I think I got this?
I didn't hear the official. So what I heard the deliberation. I didn't hear that I officially got it, but I heard them speaking about how they did like the read, because Anna and I had to do a chemistry read, and then I think they thought we had all logged off. So I know that the ladies had stayed on. And they were like, so, I don't know, what do you think? She was like, I think he's good. And then Nick was like, he was really good, right? And I'm sitting here thinking like there's more coming. And then I go, hey, y'all, I think I should probably leave the Zoom. so that I'm not like too aware. And if you guys do say I didn't get it, I don't want to know. So I heard the deliberation of what seemed like the direction of where they were going. And then, I got the call later knowing that I actually got it. Well,
I'm glad that you got it, man. You are so fantastic in the movie. The movie is unlike anything that I've ever seen. I encourage everyone to go check out NANNY on Amazon Prime. All the praise that y'all are getting is well worth it. This movie is incredible, and you were great in it. So thanks for taking the time with me today, man. I really appreciate the conversation.
Likewise, man. You too. Appreciate it, brother.
Hurry up, tape running out.